Welcome to Truth Uncompromised. I am your host, Rhonda. Join us every Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Truth is peace. Truth is justice and freedom to love, live, and be. Music provided by sourcevibrations.com.
All right, family. We're back. And I see people are coming back on, so I'm going to open back up Brother Sean, and he can let me know if that's any better. So here we go. Hey, Brother Sean.
Hey, sis. Yeah,
okay,
it's better.
I hear you good. Okay, cool. I hear you good. Okay, sis, if you're in the queue, press *1. So, when you get in the queue, sis, just press *1. Okay, good. So y'all can hear me better. All right. So before we was rudely MFing interrupted, let's see. I'm trying to wait for sis to get back on. Okay, I'm gonna just read the article, and then I'll just switch back over because I can't read an article and watch the board at the same time. So, okay. All right, so we're going to start the little article over. Here we go. Okay, so the name of this article is Who is the Boule Part 1. As we come into knowledge of self, we must too become aware of who doesn't want us to know thyself. The average African who has some knowledge of white supremacy might feel it's been and only been the blue-eyed devil that is responsible. True but not true. If you read the piece I wrote, Is YT Human or Mutant? I spoke of the biblical brothers Abraham and Moses as one of the first sellouts of the African spirit. As you well know, this country was founded by criminals who colonized this area just as they chalked up Africa in the 18th and 19th century. So pay attention to his references to those dates, and because we've talked about this several times. For us, the fuckery started going down in the Americas in the 1700s, and they kind of finished the job of the colonization thoroughly in the 1800s. Okay, so as we had our plantations in the South with house Negroes and Fio Africans, we find this trend has never changed as the years have gone by. Thanks to research done by ancestor Steve Coakley, we have found there's a black secret society that's been closely associated with maintaining the grip of white supremacy on people of color. The same secret societies these house Negroes answer to have a long history rooted in the physical and mental enslavements of Africans around the globe. This black secret society is called the Boule, a.k.a. Sigma Phi, Pi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, founded May 15, 1904. Now check this out, y'all. In Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. So I'm going to pause. Let me bring back on sis.
I'm back.
Okay, cool beans. Everybody seem to be hearing each other well now, so that's a good thing. Okay, so what I'm saying about this doggone Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, what is supposed to be jumping off in Philly? What is Philly supposed to be known as?
The capital.
The Liberty Bell.
The capital of what, Brother Sean?
Moan.
Of America.
Isn't that supposed to be the du jour or the real government?
Yeah.
But the du jour
that's
government for whom? Huh?
That's what they say. I mean, that was rights for the Moors. That ain't had nothing to do with the autochthonous Americans. I mean, that got to do with that black nobility and, King George and all them folks sending their people over here with land grants claiming they own stuff.
Exactly. So that's what I want that point to be clear so we can start tying this stuff back, okay? Because once you know the facts, they all start to connect. I'm sorry, sis, go ahead.
In 1904, that's another important date, they had that St. Louis Fair going on, and I saw a video a picture, I think it was, where they had us in the fair as human animals, and the Fez brothers were standing up there with the white folks laughing at us.
What?
So they had...
Yeah, they were African nobility.
Right.
Whoa, that's deep.
Yeah, while we performed in the little pond or lake or whatever they had in the cage and laughing at us. And, I really had respect for the Moors to a point that was degrading at that time. And when I saw that, it went way down into the gutter.
Yeah, and the thing of it is with that whole Moor thing is that our people over here, as usual, it's an identity crisis. So, whatever somebody is selling to us, telling us who we are, and if they talk a good game, folks migrate towards it instead of doing their research. So a lot of people that's involved with the Moors here and putting that label on themselves and connected to these temples, they don't know the true story of, the Moors out of Africa and, what shook down of them going around the planet, colonizing and shit. Let's just start in Africa. Let's start there on the devastation that the Moors did to other Africans. Shit, we can just start right there. Okay? So that's the issue that we have in the Americas. Our folks identifying with something that does not apply to them.
And there were
problem. I'm sorry, go ahead, brother.
There were Christian Moors, there was Jewish Moors, as well as the Islamic Moors.
Yes.
And then you had your Moors that wasn't religious.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, it's the same thing that's going on over here with the Christianity, the Islam, the Buddhism, the whole religious trap. They brought all that bullshit over here.
Right.
And
all of the
you got
fuckery.
people
Yep.
You got people fleeing from Christianity, thinking they coming into something, but then they run to Egypt, and then after they run to Egypt, they run to the Moors or the Nation of Islam. Or whatever, and don't realize it's the same bullshit, just a different prophet.
Exactly.
Hey, Sean, did you see that video of the Mussolini Moors when they were a bush?
Yeah, I saw that. That shit was deep.
That was cold.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. How they was assisting Mussolini and slaughtering folks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they definitely had an empire. I mean, there's no denying that. I mean, in a way, you can somewhat understand why they would want to go back to a time when melanated people were powerful, but they're not realizing that it's the quote unquote bad guy.
Right. And the fact that, the problem that I have with the whole thing is don't tell a story. Tell it all. And that's the part of the story that's not being told as it's concerning the Moors. The Moors slaughtered other melanated people.
Mm-hmm.
The Moors were colonizers, and that included their own people. The Moors taught the quote-unquote white folks and put them in power. They became their spokespeople, their overseers, until they got double-crossed and got kicked out of power. So that's the issue I have. If you're going to tell the story, goddammit, tell it all. And that's where the trickery comes into play. Because if you lay all them cards out on the table, who in the fuck, especially in the Americas, are going to identify themselves as a Moor when this is, number one, not even their land. This is land that they participated in the colonization. Okay? So that's really my problem with the Moors, and not any problem with the brothers in the temple per se, because a lot of them don't know. But those that do know and keep holding the secrets and is a part of the hidden hand to keep the fuckery going, they will be dealt with. But okay then. So that point is very important, that the boule was incorporated. Now notice, it was incorporated. Okay? That's another important point. Okay? In 1904 in Philly. Okay. So this is the first black fraternity in America, and unbeknownst to many, before the first black college, frat, Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity, or A Phi A, incorporated, which was founded nearly 2 years later, December 4th, 1906. The boule is a black Greek society based on another secret society founded at Yale University called Skull and Bones. Okay? So anybody familiar with that? That's the one that, all of the presidents of the corporation, U.S. corporation, are a part of that organization. I think about most of all of them were a part of Skull and Bones. Okay, so the Boule's primary founder was Dr. Henry McGee Menton, along with Dr. Eugene T. Henson, Edwin Clarence Howard, Algernon Bashir Jackson, Robert Jones Abilene, and Richard John Warwick, all of Philadelphia. The founding members of the New York City chapter, okay, y'all, it's finna get ugly, okay, but it is what it is. The founding members of the New York City chapter, W.E.B. Du Bois, said the boule was created to keep the black professional away from the ranks of Marcus Garvey. Okay, so I'm going to stop with the Marcus Garvey stuff right quick, because we talked about this, Brother Marcus Garvey, when we were talking about the series we just finished on secret societies, okay? He was also a Mason, okay? You need to go back. You look at his get-up, and if you look at Masonry, you'll see striking similarities there, okay? And Marcus Garvey and Noble Drew Ali knew of each other and were in communication with each other, okay? All right. So one thing
was Marcus Garvey college educated?
That I don't know. Now, I do have to say I really don't know too much about him. I don't know. That I don't know. One thing that needs to be pointed out is the time period. Just over a decade after the founding of the boule, Marcus Garvey's Back to Africa movement, also known as the colonization movement. Now, why would he call his movement the colonization movement? Whatever. And his newspaper, The Negro World, was reaching 1 million plus people without TV or radio. Du Bois emphasized, as Coakley stated, the importance to steal the black professional away from Garvey because an Afrocentric organization that articulated and captured the black professional would give YT no safe haven in the black community. So the boule, the remaking of the House Negro, was necessary to build a group of Negroes who had an investment in protecting the white system as produced by YT having stolen this land. I don't know who the fuck YT is. I guess that's white people. I don't know what that is. Okay, but his regular readers must know this. Okay, this is post-Reconstruction. Taking away the articulate Negro, now desiring to replace them with organized institutions to keep them away from self-improvement. So we find in the same period as the founding of the boule, the founding of the 4 black male Alpha Phi Alpha, Kappa, Alpha Psi, Omega, and the Beta Sigma, and 4 black females, Alpha Kappa Alpha, or AKA shit. I'll just say the names y'all know. Shit. AKA Delta, the Zetas, and the Sigma Gamma Rhos. College-based fraternities and sororities. We also find the founding of the NAACP and Urban League. So, let's just recap that little paragraph because that's very important. Out of this group of the boule, who come out of colleges, okay, they in turn stood up all of the quote melanated college Greek organizations, as well as the NAACP came out of that, as well as the Urban League. Okay. Now, the other point I want to make is, speaking of the universities, a lot of the quote historically black colleges were actually funded by white folk. Okay, do a little research. Yeah, yep.
Jewish.
Yep, Jewish. Yep, folks. Do a little research on that too. Okay, yeah. So hopefully it's all lining up for you. Okay, so Du Bois was one of the strongest opponents of Garvey and was instrumental tool in stopping one of the strongest grassroots movements of the last century. Okay, so I'm just going to comment and throw my whole take on the Garvey thing is, here's the thing, family. All of these movements that get started as concerning us, 99.9999999% of the time, they are secretly funded by opposition. So when you are at the art of war, it is strategical, okay? So what better way to have a strategic war than to start up 2 groups and have one pitted against the other, but in essence, they're really doing the same goal, which is to misdirect and throw people off their path to who they really are, okay? So the whole Garvey movement, and what I'm trying to point to go back to Africa, clearly screams separate them from their land, okay? Make them think that they are Africans, that they're not native to the Americas, to separate them from the land, okay? The other camp the Du Bois and all of them, that was about integration. Integration into the colonized system, which became white supremacy. Okay? So in other words, you be a happy slave on your land when you're really a prisoner of war. Okay? So now that's my take on the whole Garvey plan, and I'm going to tell you why. The next couple of sentences going to prove my fucking point. All right. Du Bois was one of the strongest opponents of Garvey and was an instrumental tool in stopping one of the strongest grassroots movements of the last century. What was Garvey's plan? His plan: take as many Africans from the Americas and start a settlement in the nation of Liberia, and then help this new nation produce and control their own rubber crops and create other industry made of natural resources. Okay. Liberia and a couple of those other African, quote, quote, nations were funded by an organization, go look up Negro Land, to purposely take us from over here, our ancestors from over here, and go over to these African nations to set up a colony over there to still pay the taxes back to the Crown of England. Okay? So that proves my point that was nothing but two sides of the coin being funded by the same fucking plan. Okay? All right. So he goes on to say, Garvey said, if the oil of Africa is good for Rockefeller's interest, if iron is good for Carnegie Trust, then these minerals are good for us. Why should we allow Wall Street and the capitalist group of America and other countries exploit our country when they refuse to give us a fair chance in the countries of our adoption? Okay, there go that motherfucking adoption again. Like, we're from Africa, and I think Garvey's native land was Jamaica, but he ain't from Africa. Now, he may have been. Maybe he is a descendant of a slave, but, most Jamaicans, you're American. You're part of Americas if your people have always been on those islands, okay? So why should not Africa give to the world its Black Rockefeller, Rothschild, and Henry Ford, okay? But what's missing behind what he is saying is that they had planned for us to go over there to settle the lands, and really what they wanted to do in those particular African nations was just what the fuck they did over here in America. Pick out their few people that they let them go over there to grant them land. So going over to Africa, stealing those people's motherfucking land to set up a colony to pay taxes back to the crown. That's what that whole movement was about. Of going over back to Africa, setting up a colony. Shit, he called it the colonization movement. Okay? So that's the story behind that. You want to know the true source? Look up Negro land, and you're going to see the territories and areas. It was a whole corporation founded just to colonize parts of Africa for the sake of profits. Okay, so he goes on to say this would have potentially meant no Goodyear nor U.S. Steel as we know it today, because it would have set precedent that will make all Africans aware of their land and mineral wealth it offered. Okay, so this brother needs to do a little bit more research. That's not the case. They were setting up their kingdoms to pay back to the crown on both sides, over in Africa, as,
you know what?
as they had already done it over here. Go ahead on, sis.
So they were both on the same plan, Boys and Garvey,
yes.
And all of these Pan-African people, like the Sonetas and all those people, they're all on the same agenda. And the Moors' primary agenda, well, I heard a Moor say it, was the one world government.
That's right. That's right.
And so he said the white man didn't start that movement, we did. But the white man is the one who started the Pan-African, go back to Africa roots movement, and saying that we're from Africa, knowing darn well that this is our land. And they miseducated our people in schools, in the books. They changed the books, and they miseducated our people deliberately to say that they came from Africa. And that's why all our people start, I'm African, black is beautiful, all this kind of stuff, because the white European started that mess. Not us.
Right. They secretly behind the scenes funded it.
They sure did.
Absolutely.
And they started teaching it. They even started teaching it. They didn't secretly, because it comes from Darwinism. You know, Darwinism is knowing that they're down the pike, and so they're trying to get rid of us because they can't produce as much as we can. So it's called that survival of the fittest crap.
Right.
And they got a hold with it.
I'm sorry, go ahead, sis.
No, I said they got a hold to it and went with Darwinism.
Yeah, and I think with the whole white folk concept of taking over, all they did was use the same playbook that the motherfucking Moors used. They used the same tactics to dominate. Okay? The difference is our folks did not enter and understand what the game was. Okay? So the white folks ain't did no motherfucking more than the Moors did, literally and figuratively. So where did he leave off?
Well, you know, the Moors are working with the white people because the Moors are white people. So they're the ones who put the white people on us to come over here and conquer us. Because they couldn't do it, I understand. Tried many times to conquer us. They had many wars with us, the Moors did, but they couldn't do it. They weren't successful at it. That's what my research found out. So what they did is went back to the European people and brought them over here to help them.
Absolutely. And start putting them in power. Yes.
Right.
Yes, but they were behind the scenes benefiting. Okay? So I would say around the late 1700s, early it could have been as early as probably the mid 1800s, when the change of power started to happen, where the white folks started taking those seats of thrones in Europe. Because if you check the land records on how land was granted, it goes back, I know for facts, say for example, South Carolina, the king chartered South Carolina in the 1600s. I forgot which particular year. It was early 1600s. And that was a melanated king all motherfucking day long. All day long. Okay? So we have to start being clear on who did what. Okay?
Yeah.
But the good part is, I'm sorry, go ahead on, Brother Sean.
The way that the Caucasian Moors even came into power is because the blacker Moors over there were at it with each other.
Yes.
Whether you're talking about Europe,
That's
Asia,
true.
Russia, all of them was
Yep.
over there going at it like maniacs.
Right. They destroyed their own kingdoms. They bankrupted them. And I think I read last week when I gave the history of the Carolinas, how one of the melanated kings was in debt. So he started granting land to his creditors because the melanated folks that sat on them thrones in Europe bankrupted it. Between wars and mismanagement, they bankrupted it. Okay, so yes, absolutely very good point. Okay, so where are we at? So he's saying this also would have shattered the financial arm of white supremacy right when it was getting started. Du Bois, along with Alan Locke the first. Now here we go with the fuckery. That's why we say pay attention and go back and look at who founded these universities. Alan Locke, the first black Cecil Rhodes Scholar, publicly defiled Garvey by calling him a gorilla and little fat black man, ugly with a big head. Locke was quoted as saying, "We hope the white man delivers, 'cause we crushed a great black thing, but we know he'll deliver. Our people will attack and plague us forevermore." These two house Negroes made a bet that YT would come out on top and give a certain percentage to these greedy Negroes, named boule members, the wealth they stole from Africa. What's deep is they didn't believe in African self-reliance and deferred their alliance to the overseer, hoping they give them the scraps instead of making their own. Okay, understand the boule represents the weakest and most despicable element of African people. As Coakley puts it best, it took a type of nigger to form an organization like this. I mean, we just got our asses kicked during Reconstruction. Africa was divided before our very eyes via the Berlin Conference. Damn, this was 50 years before Rosa Parks. The question is, why were these black devils like this? The answer may lie in the fact that the boule is a Greek organization. Okay. All right, here we go. The name boule is a Greek term meaning advisor to the king. The next question should be, who's the king? Coakley and Historia Ashera Kwesi revealed in a lecture the king that they received direction from and protect, like their logo, the Sphinx, a guardian animal, more on that in a second, are the white secret societies responsible for white supremacy. The first white Greek fraternity, the Kappas, the Illuminatis, Rhodes Rothschild Secret Society, Skull and Bones, the Masons, the Round Table Group, the New World Order, One World Government, the Carnegie, Mellon Rose, Milner's Kindergarten, the Rhodes Crown, Times Crown, All Souls Groups, Clementine Sect, and numerous other wealthy family organizations. All are simply aliases and go by many names, but consist of same members and ideology. These white beasts have raped, murdered, and colonized our people for hundreds of years, and their children continue the genocide against people of color around the globe. Okay, so just to be clear, we just finished the series on the secret society. So you should know all of those organizations that he named are taking their ideology, a lot of them from the Masons, okay, and the Masons get their ideology from the ancient school of mysteries out of Kemet, which were melanated folk, just like the early founders of the Masons are melanated folk, okay? So let's keep being clear on that. So it wasn't like the white folks just out of the blue got this motherfucking knowledge and became powerful. They had to be given the knowledge. They had to be taught the knowledge by melanated folks. Okay? And those organizations, as far as the Masons and all of that, ties back to the Crown of England / the Moors. Okay. So one of the problems we should have with the boule and the offspring of the boule, the 8 college fraternities and sororities, is that they falsely acknowledge the Greeks as the founders of civilization. We, of course, know this is a lie. We know that the Greeks got their knowledge from the Nile Valley, ancient Nubia, and Kemet. We know they plagiarized such knowledge after killing us off and raping Kemet, then deemed themselves as the originators of knowledge we gave them. We are fully aware of their actions of erasing the African presence of Kemet. We also know Pythagoras did not create a theorem, and that he was one of May falsely created fathers of the arts and sciences from our ancient African mystery schools. Okay, so we already discussed that ancient Kemet is where all of this knowledge come from, but let's be clear, too. Those early Greeks were melanated. All of Europe was melanated. Go ahead on, brother.
All that knowledge was supposed to come from thought, right?
Exactly.
And he was a Atlantean, right?
Yes.
So that means he was from here. I mean, had he actually existed, he would have been from here. So the knowledge was taken.
Atlantic side, right? Unless I missed something.
South America is Atlantis.
Exactly.
From what I hear.
Exactly, which we're going to get
and
into.
And some say Antarctica.
Yep. There you go. Damn it, Sean. Ain't nobody told you to get no spoilers, but yeah. Yes. Yes. So, who stole the knowledge from whom?
Exactly. It all originated from here.
Exactly. Kemet was out of where? South America, right? And extended up west. So meaning the Grand Canyon and all of that. So in other words, you had the Europeans, the melanated Europeans, was stealing that knowledge. Very good point. Very good point.
They was the only ones that could come over here back in the day.
Exactly.
That's right. They took it over to them.
Exactly. Was not the Africans way back when coming back and forth over here via South America?
They were doing trades, as far as I remember.
They were doing trades. Absolutely. So they were the ones with the first knowledge.
Right. I mean, if you take into account that Pangea is basically the Great Flood, when the waters allegedly divided the continent.
The lands.
There's all one land there, so it's not like, it would have been that difficult to get here back in the day.
That's true.
Mama saw fit to put water where she wanted it to separate.
Right, because of the fuckery. Exactly. And we're going to get into that tonight. Soon as I finish this up, that is a perfect segue into Antarctica on the whole when the lands were, and that's a good point you brought up, Brother Sean, because they're still connected underneath. Mama just put the body of waters between us. But yeah, back when everything was connected and you could just walk across, and so it was easier. But even with that said, even when the waters were separated, they were still doing trade via Africa to South America. They were still doing trade. Though that was melanated folks doing that. So they were the ones that got the knowledge from Kemet and took it back to Africa and started teaching it. Okay, so that's where that whole Greek mythology came from. It wasn't that the white man stole it. It was just the melanated man took it and started setting up his organization. Because we've talked about this several times about that whole, what they're calling Kemet over in Egypt. Those pyramids are not as old as the pyramids over on this land. And if you do a little research, you'll find that experts have looked at those pyramids in Giza and found out that the shit is fake. They constructed the shit with crowbars and material that wasn't even around back when they allegedly and supposedly were constructed. Okay? All right, so very, very good point. Okay, so who is the boule? They are the so-called talented 10. Du Bois is famous for speaking of. It must also be noted that Du Bois boy, Lockheed, ooh, damn, he's slinging mud. Okay, it must also be noted that Du Bois boy, Lockheed, was a homosexual. It should also be noted Du Bois was perceived to have homosexual tendencies, and we find so was the belief of those party to the Harlem Renaissance movement. In essence, these modern-day house Negroes are a mutation of a white man that seeks to represent something he is not Greek. And I'll split hairs with him on that because the Greek were melanated. It's just that they're identifying something that if they are indigenous to this land, that is not their heritage. They're not out of Europe. They're here, okay? All right, they are prominent blacks. White America gave to us collectively all 5,000 plus members and 112 chapters throughout the United States and West Indies. Make up the wealthiest group of black men on the planet. And to think none are working in the interests of black people, but rather get a kick out of holding the white man's penis as he pisses on the people of color. We must realize the house Negro feel African theory ain't dead. Okay, and he's saying that there's 101 chapters around the world. Anywhere there are professional blacks, the boule is there. The amount of members of the boule's wealth, including strong political and economic connection, strong enough to assist in killing Malcolm X and fellow boule member Martin Luther King, cannot be matched by any other blacks anywhere in the world. Okay, so let's be clear. I don't want to brush over the MLK thing because he was a boule member as well. Yeah. But to me, King got taken out when he said we were being held captive in our own land. And when he started talking to economics and putting it out there that this is our shit, that was a wrap, okay? But he was one of them, okay? And his agenda was to integrate us into the colonized / white supremacy society. Now, I don't know what happened to the brother behind the scenes to, switched gears. I don't know if he ran up on the information that we're native to this land, but whatever the case may be, that's why he got taken out.
You know,
okay. Go ahead, sis.
I had a neighbor from Georgia. She a blonde chick, and her daddy was sheriff, she said, and she knew Martin Luther King, and he used to say, "Hello, blondie," you know, and tease her and all that kind of stuff. So there's a rumor, and after knowing her, I imagine it's probably true, that he did things so he could be with a white woman, a European. And that's why...
Yeah, that's interesting, sis, but go ahead.
That's why he was in their pockets, because it's like Frederick Douglass. He did the same thing. Because he couldn't marry outside of his race until he, you know, turned us in, and then they gave him one of them as a prize. So, and she told me this, and I thought she was like, you know,
no, she's not
blowing
lying.
smoke. Yeah, because you know she's got a fool of herself. But I knew her for years, and she always maintained that he was always trying to get with her and tease her and stuff. Because her daddy was sheriff.
Well,
go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. I didn't want to cut you off. It is a known fact that when the alphabet boys were keeping surveillance on King, that they had a lot of tapes of his infidelity and messing and chasing after white women. So, yeah, that was known.
Okay.
Yeah,
so she knew it.
Known. Now, yeah, so she's not lying. If you do a little research, you know, you'll find out that Hoover's my fucking stinking ass, who was mulatto, okay?
Yeah.
I don't know I think his mama is melanated.
Yeah.
If so, that makes his motherfucking stinking ass melanated. Was the
also,
one
Eisenhower as well.
Yes, Eisenhower as well. Yes. But yeah, it's a known fact that they have plenty of tapes with King's infidelity and in particular messing with white broads. Okay. So, you know, and which is one of the traits of the motherfucking dirty Moors.
Right.
That's one of their traits. Okay.
They like multiple women too, you know. And they feel they're entitled to multiple women. I'm like,
yeah, that's their business. You know, I don't give a damn. You know, it's not impacting my world, but let's be clear that that's what they do. Okay, so it says the history of the boule. Boule again means the advisor to the king. Is the lower house of Greek Parliament inside the Boule history book. The history of the Sigmas, the first of the American Negro Greek letter fraternities, was written by a Boule member, Charles H. Wesley, in 1954. Wrote on page 28 why one of its founding members, Minton, who also owned the first black drugstore in the United States, wanted to create such an organization. Minton wanted to create an organization which would partake in the tenets, basis, or root of Skull and Bones at Yale. Okay, so there you go. They were motherfucking mimicking Skulls and Bones out of the university. Okay, which is why they also stood up the Greek, the black Greek organizations out of their universities. Ironically, Charles H. Wesley released the Boule history book the same year George G.M. James' Stolen Legacy was released. Could this have been a campaign by the Boule as a buzzkill to kill the movement of G.M. James' book would have created? Was Wesley, I don't know about that. Okay, but Wesley was a 33rd Prince Hall Mason, as was G.M. James. Wesley also wrote the history books for the Alphas, the Elks, and Prince Hall Mason, and founded Central State University in the state of Ohio. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
By the way, that's where one of Cosby's daughters went. Okay? And Cosby gave big money to Central State. I mean, really big money. And Wilberforce. Okay. So hopefully y'all starting to see the connections of this. And Cos is a boule too. His motherfucking mug is on here as well. Boule members, Cosby, Douglas Wilbur, the man that found Ebony magazine, John H. Johnson, Carter G. Wilson. We talked about Dr. King, Earl Graves, and then messy motherfucking Jesse Jackson.
Hey, what about that dude that does the DNA stuff? What is his name?
I'm sure he is.
Gates, yeah. Because, he's out there promoting that DNA that shows us coming from Africa here.
Right.
And we do know that undercover the Jewish folks own the DNA companies. And and our folks is going to get that. I got some DNA, and I know for fact that my folks are Mayan. So how come they show me coming from Africa as the oldest time frame when Mayans are the oldest ones on the planet?
But what nation in Africa did they link you to?
Israel.
Okay, because they linked me.
In Libya, just the northern parts.
Okay, so Libya was one of the colonization Negro land that they was trying to colonize. They were trying to take us from over here to send us over there.
And Wales too. They got me in Wales.
Okay, so you were European, more European. Okay, and
right.
I know when mine came back, we came back as Sierra Leone, which is a part of Negro land. So your point is well taken. It was all fuckery. But now that we know what we know, you should be putting it connected together, even with that fake ass DNA. I'm sorry. Go ahead on this.
And our people really should realize that they're showing that area as our oldest ancestry, and all that stuff is lies.
Right. Absolutely. Okay. So now, who is Skull and Bones, also known as Brotherhood of Death, is the second chapter of the Illuminati, and that was established in 1832 at Yale University. Let me see. The first chapter of the Kappas, the Phi Beta Kappa, was founded May 1st, 1776, in Germany by Adam Weishaupt, but was forced underground after exposing, only to resurface. Okay, I'm just trying to see what else meat I can give you. Well, the rest of it, he's just going into naming some of the other members of Skull and Bones. We talked about that. A lot of the presidents, a lot of the high political folks are linked to Skull and Bones. And he also gets into the article connecting the Masons to all of these societies, and we just talked about that out of the series Secret Societies. Okay. So other than that, you can certainly read this article on your own. The website is GettoTymz.com, and the name of the article is Who is the Boule? Okay, so he goes into a lot of details, even going up to today, on some of the players. that's in it as well. And matter of fact, he has the whole series. So even at the bottom, he has all the way up to part 6 and a roster of who's involved with the boule. Okay.
You know,
right,
I want to mention.
Go ahead, sis.
I do want to mention something. The textbooks they have in college, I've seen some posted on the YouTube. Us originating over on the East. That's another thing they're doing in schools is changing the books. And I like to make people understand the first printing press that they put out there was the Gutenberg printing press. It wasn't the first, but that's the one they put out.
Right.
And Gutenberg was a Jewish man. So these people are even changing their college textbooks to show that we started over there.
Right.
It is a very intense fraud that they're perpetrating on our people. And our people need to be careful when they read the history in their school books and stuff. That stuff is fake.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I just want to throw that out there because the education they're getting is a non-education. And the boys, all them people, they and I said Wesleyan too, they had that Africa stuff on Hidden Colors and stuff. And they showed where we come from. That's all. Okay.
Right. Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, so before we get into Antarctica, I do have a couple of folks in the queue. So let me get to 215. 215, your line is open.
Greetings, everyone. This is Lina.
Hey, how are you doing? It's so good to hear your voice.
Thank you. I'm great. I'm going through. Everybody's going through something because of the energies that are coming in and all the mess that has been done and is being cleaned up.
Yes.
That's internally inside of everyone, as well as Mother Earth, as well as the entire cosmos. And I wanted to listen last week. I heard that you were on this, and then something that happened this week, I said, okay, if time permits, I'm going to be on when you come on. Now, some other things happened, so I didn't get on until just before 8. So
okay.
I may be a little bit off in what I'm going to say, but I'm going to preface everything by saying that you know that I always tell everyone, go beyond, right? And you acknowledged that one day, and I didn't get to thank you because you got cut off that night. Okay, so I thank you for that. I'm saying not because it's me, but yes, because I was a part of this. So you cannot go over these things in 1 or 2 nights. It's just impossible. It must be gone over, however, and perhaps you are resetting and reseeding the foundation for bringing about the roundtables that I spoke of long ago on Boo Boo's calls, and then on your original calls and my original calls and other people's things, and something that was being formulated 30-something years ago when Steve and I and Hamza and Karen and Brewman and David and Baruti, I can name them all, who we were right there, okay?
Yep.
So I have a couple of questions. I don't want to interject. However, I was listening, and I can't let this go by because it's for real, because it adds to, so it's in addition to, and because it's positive. And I don't want anyone, not anyone, to walk away this evening or any other day thinking that they got the whole thing, because the whole thing is not out there yet, because we cannot put it all out there yet, but it's being unfolded. And this, I don't know if you said it or not, this is connected to that Roseanne Barr and Valerie Jarrett.
No, I haven't even mentioned that. So you go with it, sis, and I'm glad you came in. I was hoping that you came in because I know you was there when Brother Steve was putting out, Steve Coakley was putting out this information. So thank you for tuning in. So I'm sorry. Go ahead, sis. Come on, connected.
Okay, thank you. I mean, I have to come respectfully, but I got to do this because.
Absolutely. Do your thing.
Number one, who was the person you were reading from, if you don't mind me asking again?
Sure thing. This brother, I don't know him. I'm sorry. Let me go back to the article because I had closed it down. His name is, and I don't want to butcher the man's name because he took on the African name. MBWEBE. So I don't know what that's.
Yeah. I got it. Okay. So now I can speak from truth now. I mean, I was going to speak from truth no matter what, but now I have a frame of reference because that young man who is older now used to come to our lectures, to Stephen's lectures, and afterwards, and take some of the information and run with it, because he was striving to be one of those people who could get into those letters, okay? So there's, when I say that there's plenty that people do not know, I don't have it all. I got a pretty damn good amount from having been in place, and I'm grateful for those things to have been placed there because it's a spiritual thing as well as a physical and emotional. There's no thing and no one who is not connected to everything else. I just want to caution y'all, because I know y'all, to watch what you say, because you have not, and I'm qualified to say this, but I'm coming with heart and love and light and laughter. You don't have that connectivity of how these dots all fall together. This person here who wrote that stole some things from Stephen, okay? I'm saying it because it's true. We communicated, let me put it that way, because he was building himself up and becoming more and more spiritual, as well as doing some research. But when you do research, you must not use one source of reference unless that's the only there is for that, okay?
Right.
So that has a bearing. It's Phi Beta Kappa that it was drawn on, not Skull and Bones. Skull and Bones had its inference, and not every president comes from Skull and Bones.
Okay.
Later years, most of them.
If you don't mind, sis, you're saying the boule really didn't come from Skull and Bones. It came from the Kappas. It was the tenets of the Phi Beta Kappas. And you shouldn't even say just Kappas, because there's many Kappas out there, okay? So you have to say Phi Beta Kappa. Phi, because Phi is like Psi, Lie Del Phi, the highest of the high. This is the capital of the real America, the real United States. Okay? So we're coming back to reality now. So each of us is going to have to throw away something that we think we learned all of, which we did not. Okay, so and I'm trying to set the tone for this, because there's going to be so many people who are going to fall down and have heart attacks and start to cry and don't want to do this, yet want to do that. And the story is not
fully out there. It's being unfolded like the onion. It's being let out, because if we gave you everything, the whole shit would fall apart for the goodness thereof. Because of all of the boondockeries and stuff like that, and I'm talking boondocks too. That guy was around too. He draws very well. When he was little, we were communicating. They get lost. Okay? Maybe they didn't want to, but both of these people got lost. And I could tell you stories and stories, but see, I know that I can't give it to you all in the amount of time that we have right now. So what I'm trying to do is give you, I'm doing it, give you a piece here, a piece there, and a piece there. And I'm still saying we must have the round tables, although the teachings, the training, the unfolding of the mind control, and just the pure blankety-blank truth will set some folks free. The others who don't want to be, that's because they don't want to be. Am I right, Brother Sean? And it's not about being right or wrong. It's just that all things must come out. When you speak of Garvey, okay, know that Liberia was on a map over here. All of it was called Liberia. So there's different time frames. Even Stephen didn't have all of this. Stephen belonged to a secret society that was doing things in order to safeguard what we had safeguarded all the time. When you find out what it is, not about white people whatsoever, but it is about the different levels and degrees of a more, M-O-O-R, M-A-U-R, M-A-W-N, M-A-R-E, okay, M-A-R-I. It's many things there. So I ask you to guard yourself into saying with the venom about those dirty Moors. That's the priesthood, and it wasn't all of the priesthood. But remember, Benjamin and Leviticus, the Levites, priests, okay? So I mean, when the story comes out about those two brothers that I told you about long time ago, the story had to be rewritten for now so that we can pull it all back and just lay the truth out there. But there is no truth unless the individual does the proper research and shines the proper light on it. So there are many secret societies. Don't think that secret societies are bad. No, because they only house what people think are secrets, which were all out there before, for everyone, as long as they attained, A-T-T-A-I-N, and some of you know that I used to spell it all the time, attain the righteousness inside of you, the life force inside of you, to let it bloom and grow and be, so that you could get it to say and to have all of your knowledge approved, and those steps, thought, belief, knowledge, then wisdom, and then something else after that. So Wesley, yes, he wrote that book. He wrote something else, too, that's not yet out. So some of the ones who were bad but good, and that's when I say that the masks are coming off. And Big T with the red tie and the blue tie, and sometimes he got a blue tie with a stripe on it now. Then his mama from the Clan McLeod, Dunkin' Donuts. You're going to see how all this relates together, why that wedding had to happen that way. Who are now and were before, closing circles, the real Duke and Duchess of Sussex. That's the real Aboriginal indigenous people. So you haven't been told the right story, but you don't have to be told shit. I don't have to tell you shit. You can find it out now more readily than before. Before, it was hard to. It wasn't meant to be. That was not in your script. The scripts are over. The series, see, that Roseanne Barr thing has a lot of layers to it. Valerie Jarrett and her family, Vernon Jarrett, who Steve knew and called out, was doing shit then. He was in contention with Vernon Jordan, yet he was the Vernon Jordan of all of Chicago and Illinois and some other places. So what she was attempting to put out, but see, she didn't have enough knowledge to do that.
Right.
She should have shut up. Not because she is a racist, because she's really not. But that was little Miss Sticks. I call her Miss Sticks, the comedian. She was used to put the racist thing on it. And
Wanda Sykes, yes.
Yes. And the president of ABC, yet Disney, the god of not so goodness, okay.
Right.
ABC, that lady is boule, because you can't get up in there. That's why I left who I left. Because I was earmarked to be all of these things, but I wasn't sleeping, and drinking with nobody that I didn't have to if I didn't blankety-blank want to. Not because I was supposed to get, but I wasn't supposed to get because you wanted me to sell my soul. Hell no.
Hell to the no, right.
Right, but we're in hell, and it's being turned over back to, and I'm going to say it this way, back to Africa. Because, see, you have to know the etymology of words. And letters and grammar. Africa, an F used to be an S, and vice versa. So it became Assyria. And some of you on calls understand my intro was very important. I was letting out a whole lot without them knowing that I was letting out a whole lot. But everyone has to go do more research. I will do research from the cradle to the grave for here, but the ascension to another dimension when this is finished. Assyria, the black pearl of Africa, but also the black pearl of paradise. So again, all of this was paradise, but the whole blankety-blank thing was paradise. So you have bits and pieces. You have to watch what you say, and sometimes that's why I halt and I'm saying, okay, if I say this, their frame of reference is something else. So it's that right now, go inside, build yourself up, because other people who look white are fighting your battle. They're not your savior. They're not your savior. You are the only one who can do that. Your higher self inside of you who is connected to that only one, but you're going to see faces and places and people like you who hold the titles of names that you thought were somebody or something else before in those cycles that either just got lost because there's vast amount of time that went by. So civilizations in generations can lose some of whatever. You see that for when, I don't know how old you are in terms of chronological this lifetime, but I was brought up totally different than some of the children and some of the adults that I see, and I'm going to just drop this on you. I was where, I'm calling them M and M. Meek Mills was Tuesday. I didn't know that was what was transpiring, but they fought tooth and nail to make sure I wasn't on that jury.
Whoa!
Yeah, it's a lot. I'm just dropping it. I'm not dropping it to name drop. I'm dropping it to say, you see how all this shit is more connected than you'll ever know. But why is he running around with these people? You got to think about that. But none of those judges want to give up that lady, because then they got to give up themselves. And they didn't want to anybody fair. And the ones of us who got not taken, and their little heifers, I'm calling them heifers, who had to go right ahead in the morning before 8 o'clock in the morning and go do Twitter. Little black children did Twitter about the thing to blow it up so that the fair people couldn't be on there. So that you would know what the truth is. Okay? So anyway, I'm just saying all of this is connected. Liberia. Libya is the Amazons. That's why Muammar Gaddafi's mama was an Amazon. That's why he was helping women. That's why he was cleaning up Mother Earth, and he was cleaning his mama back up and giving her honor through everyone else. The thing with Syria, little Syria, was all of this Pangea related to Atlantis and Lemuria, related to the swanness of Cygnus and Sirius and other places that are just layers and dimensions. So I don't want to over anything. I'm just saying the boule thing, Jared, okay? And she didn't misspeak because when you find out who's who and whether this relates back to, where is Wendell? It relates back to all of what Wendell had spoken about, but it still goes beyond that. So you're really, all of you and your listeners are in a very wonderful position now to help to let out the rest of the information. And I think that y'all should go and find out about Q Anon, because it means one by one. It means one by one. So the oneness in and of and for everybody, okay? Don't worry about if you think it's all white people, because it's not. Don't worry about if you think that this man is a wacko, because maybe the original man is a wacko. So fucking what? If it gets you what you need, so that you can further uplift yourself, okay? It's all planned within the higher plan. This is a plan inside of it, and people are getting busted right now. Yet it's not about you being happy that they're getting busted. It's because, remember, one of the things that Boo said, which is true, that's how he could tell them other lies, because he was also knowing that you got to tell the majority of the truth in the beginning to let the people hold on to any of your lies. So there's other books that are going to come out. There's writings. I asked y'all before. I told y'all before. Go read that tax bill. That's what's helping you. Go put in, for you who are old enough, go put in for another Medicare card and find out that they're not attaching it to your accounts anymore. Okay? Find out that the reset already happened. Find out about what is in Europe and why there's a book called the Egyptian Cat Goddess in Britain. Hams and I broke that book apart to find out it's the same people who are the lineage of here, who, when I said the baton is going to be passed back, the right thing, RIGHT, of all things, putting people back and black in place, will be femininity. But that's why I sent out, I don't know how many of you understood it, that green suit that Obi-Wan Kenobi had on, who's a boule member. Okay? But all of that shit come out. And he's very close to VJ, Jarrett, and Lynch, and all of these things. And it's connected to the pedophilia, which brings you to the so-called Greeks, that these other people, and I know plenty of them, they wanted me to be initiated. I don't have to fucking get initiated into anything. I'm initiated into life because I got birthed down here. But before I was birthed down here, we are who we are because we're connected to the highest thing that there ever is and could ever be. So I don't need to go lower than where I am. That's why you say, I am that I am, because you are the highest thing that anything could be. and we have to hug each other and love each other. So it's all of those places. And the king is the same king that we told you that was in Africa before when I sent you that thing. And that's related to the stuff that Wendell was speaking of. So, I mean, there's so much more to say. But I'm going to close off with that. I think that there should be a panel so we can revive the work that we did before, because all of these things that you're going to find out about now that people are talking about, that white people are talking about, that you're hearing on the so-called fake news, Stephen and us went in places where maybe we should not have been and got it and spoke on it, and it exists to this day. And some of those people heard him and Maxwell and Cooper and all sorts of things. Okay, so don't downplay yourself. Let the anger and stuff, because you went through a stage, okay? Now your stage is upliftment and growth.
Right.
Let that go. Let that go. That's why he had to move the embassy. That is major. And June 11th, 12th, and 13th is major. Today is a 9/11 day, so I haven't checked yet to see what transpired, because some of us just have to wait until the others do their piece, but everybody holds a piece of this. Don't be blindsided. Don't be locked up in a closet. Know that this is the most auspicious time, and it's over. So thank you. I don't disavow what and I don't call this guy by this name. I usually call him by the name that we knew him as before, because of whatever. But he's supposed to be more spiritual now, but he doesn't understand a fucking thing that I say. So is he really that spiritual now? I don't begrudge him anything. I say to all of y'all, take what is there that you need to uplift yourself, and then do some more work, because the work is by your hand. Okay, thank you.
Okay, sis, are you doing a show anytime soon?
I had anticipated doing a number of them. Okay, one for the wedding, one before the wedding. These 5G energies that came in, they have affected everyone to the degree of your awakening and your spirituality. I've been fighting that to stay with y'all to do this thing. I want to do one this weekend. I think not, because the thing that I'm getting is no. I may say to you, okay, perhaps next week I might be able to say, let's do a little something, because you have the greater vehicle. I stopped partly because people were not listening. They took it for a minute and they dropped it because they weren't ready. I'm not judging. I'm saying facts. So those of us who were doing this, we had to sit back, or were made to sit back, so that others could do their works of their hands. We still have work to do, but we can't do it until the other ones come back up. So the answer right now is no. If I get feedback, then yeah, and I am ready. I don't know if it'll be June. It might be right after this 11th thing or just before.
Okay. Perfect. Okay, sis. Well, we'll definitely touch base. Thank you so much for tuning in. I wanted you to tune in because I know you know that side intimately because you were there. So I truly appreciate it. And what you were just speaking on with the dimensions across the planet with the different regions, what we're calling regions, kind of ties into the whole Antarctica thing. So if you still be
that
with
is
us, we're going to get into
also that. Because that's the other dimension. That's the doorway. And the 11's all coming up. It's there's more to say to everyone, maybe we just got to do things every day, something so that people have to make time for what it is. They make time to go see me, or they make time to go see Beyonce, or they make time to jibber jabber. Sometimes they make time to make friends, and that's good. Everybody needs right now to make time for themselves to grow. And we just assist them because it assists us, and we assist each other.
Absolutely.
And thank you for accepting and receiving what I was saying in the way that I said it, as I see that you got it the way that I put it out there. So thank you.
Absolutely. Always. It's all inside of love. You dropped a lot of jewels. I thank you. So,
everybody's welcome. And I'm ready to do more. I'm ready to do more with people, and I learn from everybody as well. It's not a one-way street. It's not a one-way street. So I'll just listen right now. Thank you.
Okay, love you, sis.
We love it when you come on, sis.
I know. I got so happy. So if you're going to keep listening, sis, when we start getting into the nitty-gritty, you got some
also send me an email or whatever. There were 4 and 5 days at a time because of this 5G. 5G, and okay, I guess I need to give you this also. You being everybody. Go get yourself some Dr. Tishner's mouthwash. TISCHNER''S. You can get it, even though I don't like that place, Walmart. You can get it Walgreens. You can get it Amazon. It has been diluted so much, but it's still strong.
I was going to say, I know it's strong as heck.
It's strong, but it's real. It's real. The 5G is breaking down skin, throwing females' thyroids off, skin rashes, little red dots, your sinus problems that you think, the hay fever thing, the pollen that they're talking about. No, that was, they revved up 5G recently, April.
Yeah, they did.
That was part of why you didn't hear me. Because I was, and when I get this way in order to further see what's the recipe to give to someone else. And together with other people, not just me. It's not ego talk, heart talk, and truth. And then you watch your food and take those probiotics. Probiotics. The more billions and the more strength, the better. Okay. Especially
they're propagandizing not to take you. That there's no good for you. But it's still because they want 5Gs to work.
5Gs are terrible. You should unhook your Wi-Fi. I came from that world, and I think I said it before, but if not, for the cell phones, I used to give lectures on why you should not have a cell phone. Okay, you got it. Get something called a zapper. Get something called a diode. Fortify yourself.
I have my diodes.
Yeah. What I'm saying is the doctors are now going in on the internet and on the TV saying that your probiotics you shouldn't take. I've been reading that stuff. And your vitamins you shouldn't take because they want their 5G to destroy your bodies. And people
and not just that. I say to you again, stop taking in what they say. You are the storehouse information for yourself, okay?
Yeah.
And just share what you have, because those doctors are not doctores. They're not physicians. Physician, heal thyself. But right now we need people who are in some of the fields of holistic health and nutrition and the plant to further assist you get something called vitamin O because you need to get that oxygen in you. There's something, vitamin O, it comes from our gardens, okay? There's another one called O water. That's O-H-H-H-H, okay? That's from unhealthy habits. The reason they can say now, okay, don't take those probiotics, because they know that they usurped and created and bought out some of the companies and then messed with the content and the quality of and the standardization of their product. The ones I use, but there's one that we can't get around right now for some products, not all products, is that magnesium stearate. You need magnesium now. Get yourself magnesium oil and rub on your legs. The best way to get magnesium is transdermal through the skin. But you can get liquid magnesium too. There's a company in California made by 3 young ladies. They're old. They're 3 crones, okay? And they're white, but they got the idea from this old black lady. And they're giving money back to her. They're helping children. So I'm not downing them. I'm saying thank you. It will help the mental acuity of people as well, because everybody's messed up because of what we went through. But know that, well, it's just because we had to go through that for our script. But now, that's why, is mentally deranged. She is. Because she had to go through all of this stuff. In the end, you're going to find out that she's black. But that's a whole, it doesn't matter. You're not your body. You're not your body. But while you have that as your vehicle, you got to do have that vehicle in the best shape it can be with all of its checkups, not by them, by reputable things, by you. You're the best thing for who you are and what you are. But if you don't know who you are, you don't know how to drive your car. Remember, it's your character, your accountability, and your responsibility. Go get those emergency things, though. You can get those in raspberry, especially for women, and orange, and them. Just take that in the morning. You're going to get some of the things you need till you can, for different stages of financial ability. Okay? My clients, I gauge it by how much they have, because some of them can't spend on the most expensive stuff. But I can sure help them to get what they need, even if I make this powder, and sometimes I give a little bit of this and a little bit of that, so that they can make it through the month. So that they can have something. And get your vitamin D3, because that's what they've tried to mess with. You need that for your brain to think. You need that for your heart. But it has to be a good grade. It has to be D3, and the IUs and stuff like that. It's use shea butter, water.
Indeed.
It's many things. And the whole so-called Jewish thing, they're not. So they're not. Concentrate on you right now. What's that song? Concentrate on me.
Jeffrey Osborne.
It is. That's where we are right now. We're on you. You are important. They are nothing. You got to get back to being no thing in a different way than they are nothing. You're a black hole in yourself. Black hole is the massive thing, the most important thing in all of this. You're that. You're that.
Wow.
So,
all right, sis.
Everybody.
Okay, appreciate you, sis. Love you. And just jump back in the queue if you want to put something back on it as we dig deep into Antarctica.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, love you, sis. Peace and love.
Love.
Okay, let me go to 832, and then we're going to jump into Antarctica. 832, your line is open.
Rhonda.
Hey, peace, brother. How are you?
Blessings to you and Sandra, my sisters from other misters. And Sean, my brother from another mother.
Indeed.
I know you want to get into the ice pack, so I'm not going to take but a few minutes. I'm going to shit on a little bit on you. But, I've been trying to get you these last 2 programs, so I have to come back and really lay in on this, because I want Sean maybe to take the baton I'm going to hand to him. Only thing you didn't mention in the secret sauce was the Jesuits and the Black Pope. See, See, I'm gonna fess up by saying, full disclosure, I was infected as a Catholic at the age of 5, so I didn't have any true control over that. When you start talking about stuff like the boule and all these other things, that's not really the root. As she made the example, Sister Lion, thank you. It may not necessarily be actually skull and bones, but it was a template. Phi Beta Kappa may have been the actual seed. But all of these things, and I know you're aware of it, Rhonda. You've heard of the PT1 Freemasons. These things are created through the Catholic Church, and look into that deep oath that the Jesuits took. It's called the High Oath, or I can't think of it right now because I had a lot on my mind when listening to everything you're saying. But all of these things, as you say, do go back 6,000 years to the mystery system. But I wanted to bring it up in that context of criminality. When you're talking about the Catholic Church, La Cosa Nostra, or what most people contemporarily call the mafia, is the preeminent criminal cartel. And it is in hand in glove. I know Sean knows what I'm talking about, with the Catholic Church. Two things for people's consideration as a fact. I mean, I knew it probably when I was being reared a Catholic, never really contemplated, but these are things that are facts. Not necessarily true, they are facts. Napoleon Bonaparte and Adolf Hitler were Roman Catholics, neither of which have been excommunicated by the Catholic Church. So when you start talking about criminality, criminality, when you look at the Jesuits, if you remember, it was either the Da Vinci Code, it may have been Da Vinci Code, or Angels and Demons, where they had that albino priest that would flail himself. You remember him, the assassin?
Yeah, I think that was Angel and Demons, but yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yep. Okay,
that's the Jesuits. And the Jesuits are run by the Black Pope, who you know is the hand behind the so-called White Pope. The White Pope is the one put out front. However, most people have let this go in passing, haven't paid much attention. Pope Francis is a Jesuit.
Right.
And when it was reported, when he was elevated, that he is the first Jesuit Pope. Okay, so when you do get a chance, Rhonda, you might want to go into a little bit of that secret sauce there may actually be closer to the root. Not to say that the ancient mystery systems in Kemet in Egypt isn't the source, if you will. But I'm talking about the mystery system is the water, like the alkaline water. And the Jesuit is the black seed, pun intended.
Right.
That is the origin of these secret societies and this criminality, okay? So in parting, Sean, I want you to kind of chop this up, all right? All we said is fine and well, and I agree. I agree with everything that you all have made as observation. People want to spend more time on documentation and paper. We have already removed ourselves from thousands of years. We're talking about multiple millennia, where most of our culture and existence was oral, spoken word. However, there is more credence in documentation in contemporary time. So just contemplate this, whether you do a show or not, Rhonda. But, Sean, I want you to maybe take this up when I part and yield. Why are we being, I remember I said this last time I talked to you, it's very simple to me, 3 letters, W-A-Y, W-H-Y. Why are we being distracted? Why is everything to try to point us away from this landmass so that others and everybody and their mama all over the planet trying to get here and rape the dirt, while the people who are the original, remember whatever scripture you use, we are the original caretaker, which means we are culpable and ultimately responsible for something that's been handed to us, and now we're letting others corrupt it, pollute it, destroy it. But at the end of the day, who's going to be responsible for the damage when Big Mama, Big Great Daddy, whoever, great, how many greats you want to throw on it, come back and look at us and say, how you fucked up my shit? And I yield on that, Sean. Maybe you'll slap it, flip it, rub it down. I'll get back with y'all.
Okay, peace and love, brother. Yeah, he threw a lot of jewels out there.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Well.
Okay. You go ahead, Brother Sean. Yeah, you respond to him. You put your 2 cents on it or whatever.
the whole thing is, on the whole, our people don't care. They don't think that there's any retribution from any ancestors here. They're expecting somebody to come from what they call Africa now, or they waiting on Jesus, or Buddha, or the Anunnaki, or Trump, Beyonce, Jay-Z, Kanye.
Right.
Right. Polite, Umar.
Yep.
I mean, the list goes on and on. That's why the cycle goes on and on. Until people are willing to do the work, the internal work.
Yes.
And really know who they are, not who somebody told them they was.
Yes.
Who they actually are.
Yes.
And until they're able to let go of humanity, period, you'll never really know. Because as long as you're holding on to some aspect of humanity, and that even includes us as far as for the whole Aboriginal or autochthonous thing, that's still the physical.
Yes.
It's still pertaining to the body.
Yep.
And it's not who we really are. So we even got to get beyond that. We say, no paperwork, this, that, or the other, that we're beyond that, then we're supposed to be beyond anything that can be described. Anything that can be named. Remember, we're the unnameable, the undescribable.
Right. Wow. Love it. Absolutely love it, Brother Sean. Thank you for that. Woo. Okay. All right, family. We're finally going to get up into the main topic, but I think that was time well spent going over the one last organization I wanted to go over as it relates to melanated folks, to tie it all in. Okay, so the mysteries of the Arctic. Okay, the Arctic or Antarctica has always been viewed as a cold place where nothing can live. Most associated with icebergs, polar bears, and penguins. But the Arctic is a lot more and much deeper than is being taught. It has a vast ancient history, and the spiritual aspect of Antarctica runs deep. And the connection to Mother Earth and the Antarctica's connection to us. Okay? So, the typical definition of Antarctica, you can, of course, go to, you can Google anything. I like to start with the canned definition, which, Wikipedia, and then you can hone in on that. Now, it's sad to say, I even have to say myself, until I started getting more on studying myself on the spiritual side, I never even thought about the location of Antarctica, none of that jazz, okay? I always associated, Antarctica with Alaska. Sad to say, but I did. Back in the day, I did. I wasn't putting any dots connected, okay? So Antarctica, from a geographic perspective, is what they're calling the South Pole, okay? So south, okay? It's in the southern hemisphere. Okay, so the way they're describing it on Wikipedia, and they're depicting it from a map perspective, as the brother alluded to, is that patch of ice that you see on the middle of the quote globe. Okay, but the piece I want you all to take away from that is it is very, very close to South America, to the tip of South America. When I looked at that map, as I started growing from a spiritual perspective, it clicked that there was a lot more with Antarctica that they're even leading on to. Okay, so they're saying that Antarctica is twice the size of Australia, and let's see, they have high elevations. They're depicting Antarctica as an ice desert with extreme temperatures. Okay, so you can go read that for yourself on the description on Wikipedia or any other average site, but I did want to just give you an overview. But interestingly enough, there is a lot of research by these different government agencies or corporations where they are set up military bases / research centers. So they're allegedly and supposedly researching the environment. Okay, they have something called tundra. And so tundra is a type of biome where the tree growth is hindered by low temperature and short growing season. Okay, and there are types of tundra: Arctic tundra, alpine tundra, and Antarctica tundra. In tundra, the vegetation is composed of the dwarf shrubs, grasses, mosses, and lichens. Okay, so the point I even made by even pulling up this tundra, if you read through it, you will see that Antarctica does have vegetation, okay, and it does have life forces per se there. Okay, so I found that very interesting as well. So if you go to the U.S. corporation's state government website, they discuss Antarctica, and they said that the United States has strong diplomat interest in Antarctica. In particular, the U.S. seeks to promote Antarctica's status as a continent reserved for peace and science, and according with the provisions of the Antarctica Treaty of 1959. The United States played a major role in negotiating this treaty, which was signed in Washington, and it participates actively in all aspects in the Antarctica Treaty system. There are currently 53 parties to the treaty, of which 29 are consultative parties having the right to participate in decision making. The State Department coordinates U.S. policy on Antarctica and works closely with the National Science Foundation, the federal agency that administers the U.S. Antarctica program. The United States maintains 3 year-round scientific stations on Antarctica and has more personnel based in Antarctica than any other country. That blew my mind right there. The the Department of State leads the U.S. delegation to the annual Antarctica Treaty consultative meeting where the international community discusses a range of issues pertaining to the continent. The department also maintains close ties to Antarctica Treaty Secretariat based in Buenos Aires, which facilitates communication among parties to the Antarctica Treaty. 7 countries, Argentina, Australia, Chile, France, New Zealand, Norway, and the United Kingdom, maintain territory claims in Antarctica. But the United States and most other countries do not recognize those claims. While the United States maintains a basis to claim territory in Antarctica, it has not made a claim. The Department of State is responsible for informing other treaty parties of non-governmental expeditions to Antarctica organized in or proceeding from the United States. In this connection, the Department of State determined, in consultation with the EPA and the National Science Foundation, whether expedition organizers are subject to U.S. regulations administered by the EPA and NSF related to environment protection in Antarctica. Sorry about that. The United States is also party to the Convention on the Conservation of Antarctica Marine Living Resources as part of the Antarctica Treaty System that promotes conservative of marine resources and limit fishing in the Southern Ocean. That's going to be important. Remember that. They setting limits on the fishing in that area. Just remember that as we keep getting a little, when we start digging into this. The U.S. Commissioner to whatever this damn organization is, CCAMLR, is a State Department official who heads the U.S. delegation to the annual commission meeting in Hobart, Australia. The Department of State strongly supported the 2007 through 2009 International Polar Year, an intense scientific campaign to explore new frontiers in polar science, improve our understanding of the critical role of the polar region and global processes in polar regions. More recently, the U.S.-led initiative to reconfirm the treaty parties' committee to the Madrid Protocol mining ban during the 2016 Antarctica Treaty meeting received unanimous support and was adopted by all treaty parties. So in other words, they take the stance that no one can do any drilling or any of that stuff in Antarctica for the sake of profit, okay? So they just give you, if you want more information, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so the purpose of me reading this off of the U.S. Department of State's website, state.gov, is, number one, how these particular nations all got together and said this is going to be the peace area. So in other words, no making profit, so no digging up in the ice, or digging down from oil and the other natural resources for profit. No waging war, none of this. This is for peace. I'm using the quotation marks, okay? All of these, quote, quote, particular nations, 29 of them, got together and decided that we're doing this for peaceful purposes, okay? Now, these are the same corporations who mask themselves as governments who we probably can't even name all of the active wars that they currently have across the planet over resources. So are they going to try to convince me that out of the kindness of their heart and just the loving thing to do, that they decided not to use Antarctica as a money-making thing? I think not. It has to be something deeper than that for them deeming it as a peace zone and then no exploration on it. Oh, and by the way, you don't have permission, Public Joe, to go and explore it, okay? We dictate how far you can explore that continent, okay? Because we have it guarded by military personnel, and in order to get beyond those barriers, you have to get permission and be deemed to do so. And the average Joe has never been able to get that permission. But they're doing it for peace, right? They're doing it for peace and exploration. Yeah, right. Okay? It's got to be something a lot deeper than that. Okay. So we're going to go into...
Hey, sis.
Sorry, go ahead on, brother. Sure thing.
If you think about it, when Admiral Byrd went over there and got his tail kicked, they over there just trying to survive and trying to figure out how to get through that portal over there and stay intact. You don't know. Exactly. We have no idea what the body count is up there. That's why they have so many personnel. It's just expendable bodies.
That's a good point, because that kind of blew me away, Brother Sean, when I was reading off of the state site that they have the most state-sponsored personnel there. I'm like, get the F out of here. All of the, you know what I'm saying, all of the bases and stuff they have around the globe, and you got most of the folks up there. Oh, okay then. But it's for peace, though. It's for peace and just to explore and research.
Well, I heard they found alien technology there, and that's that peace and technology stuff is because they're kind of like making an agreement to split the knowledge and back manufacture and all that kind of stuff, the technology that they found there. And some years ago, when they were in Saudi Arabia, and it was around the Hajj, they were making their trip around the Hajj, they were building the biggest mosque. It was like in 2000, I would say 14, something like that. They hit a cave, and when they did that, there was a big plasma blast, and about 4,000 people dropped dead. And from that, I have a picture of it on my phone. I locked it. I hope they didn't destroy it. But they found a structure like the Ark of the Covenant. And so Russia and about 9 ships with the Krell. You know, the Krell is the Pope for Russia.
Right,
they
Russian Pope.
Escorted that thing that looks like the Ark to the Antarctica. And all these vessels, these ships, were surrounding this one ship in the middle that carried the Ark to the Antarctica. Now, it has something to do with that plasma blast. Now, the news reported it as only about 2,500 people dropped dead. So I thought, well, that's kind of, it was, big deal, 2,500 versus 4,000, and they still dropped dead, and nobody knows. Right. And they were showing the pictures of the bodies, and they looked like they were just dropped dead and sleep, but they were dead. And so Russia was responsible for taking that artifact up there to Antarctica, and they have some YouTube things where they have all these scientists. They're going up there to experiment and do things up there.
Well, it's interesting that you bring up that story about the Russian Creole or Creole, I don't know how you pronounced it, the Russian Post, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Because there are actual pictures and headlines with that Russian Creole / Pope going to Antarctica, but they said to bless something, okay?
Yeah, well,
so we knew it was thinking the game then, and he was, it was, I can't remember how many Russian diplomats with him, but there were also scientists with him as well. And they have pictures of them on the beginning part of the Arctic. Of course, they're not going to show the meat of actually going into the restricted areas. So you're right, sis. He did, that Russian Creole / Pope did visit Antarctica because it's documented. They showed documented pictures of it, and it was headline news.
Right.
It was headline
he
news that
escorted the ark up there. He
now, of course,
escorted
they didn't say nothing about no ark, but I'm just letting the family know that you can go, pull that headline, and
yeah, you can.
That did actually happen with him being there. To quote,
and Jeremiah, the book of Jeremiah says that it was hidden in a cave. And when they were doing this big mosque in Saudi that they were building, that's when they struck it and those people died.
And see, my whole take on that, let's say even if they did pull up some artifact, it wasn't nothing but them trying to call themselves going up there to do some ritual.
Right.
To get
be able to enter in
those
there.
realms, okay? Because what is going on, we've talked about this a lot on this show over the past, it's going on 2 years now. And Sis Lioness was just giving us the background or the prefix into what we're going to discuss tonight, because this energy that's hitting the planet, this high vibrational energy, okay, is hitting all across the planet. But these realms that were blocked off back up.
Right.
And Antarctica plays a huge part in that. And folks think that they could some type of way use some rituals, which ain't working no more, to try to access and try to control the portals. And it's not going to work.
Well, okay. There's so much energy hitting the planet. I was looking at the news the other day, a couple of days ago actually, and they were saying that they're going to have to increase their sunscreen protection to 100%.
I saw that. Yeah. They sure did.
Because it ain't working no more.
They sure did, sis. I saw that. I was just walking and passing and saw it, and I just chuckled to myself and kept it moving. Like,
there was
I already know what time that is, but absolutely.
There was a solar wind that hit the sun at the beginning of this month, and it was hitting that planet. I text people to wear their crystal that day. I don't have my cell phone in here. I can tell you what day it is. I think it was about the 15th or 16th of May. And the solar plasma was hitting this planet. And, I mean, it was going to tear it up. So
I'm sorry, sis. I didn't mean to cut you off. And so I'm going to have to shift things around because you're hitting on what I wanted to hit on. So we're going to get into
I'm sorry.
No. That's a good thing. That means that's what I need to do. When you talk about the energies, those solar energies that's hitting the planet, let's talk about these suns.
Yeah.
Talked about this before. Now let's remember, family. See, this is why Antarctica is very important. This is why Antarctica is guarded. This is why Antarctica, as you know, Ebonics say, is the shit, which is a good thing. Okay? Those solar energies that's hitting are coming from the black sun.
Exactly. It's coming out from behind the sun. Yep.
Okay?
Yep. Hey, have you been watching? Have you been watching that they keep putting this commercial about salvation is coming?
No.
In between news and all that kind of stuff, they put this commercial about salvation is coming, and they show an asteroid about to hit the planet.
Oh, okay.
You should watch it because they know that is supposed to the black sun and all the asteroids and everything is coming.
Okay. Well, the black sun, and we did a program on the black sun.
Mm-hmm.
That is the energy source of the sun that you see in the sky. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So when you picture the black sun, picture it in mother's belly per se. Okay? Sitting below the surface. Okay? That black sun is extremely important. Think of it as the generator.
Right.
Okay? That black sun, when you see that aurora borealis is what they call the northern lights, aurora borealis, those different colors. So you'll see the beautiful green, the beautiful now purple is really been showing up a lot in aurora borealis. And in the promo tonight, I put a bunch of pictures of the aurora borealis in the promo. And when you take a look at them, you're going to be like, oh, okay, yeah, I've heard of that and I've seen that, okay? That is frequency. Remember we talked about this. Frequencies are transmitted into light. That is Mother Earth's frequencies coming from the black sun. Okay? So that's spreading across the earth as well as generating to the sun that we see, the one sun, because there's suns, plural. I know of 3 suns, plural, above us that you can see, and Dr. Blair, I give all honor and respect to, he hipped us up on game years ago. He told us that there were multiple suns. And when you pay attention and when you are in tune and when them portals open up, because they open and then they're closing. They're opening and they're closing. If you are in tune, you can see the multiple suns. I've seen 2 of them myself, but there are other people that are documenting 3 suns, okay? When we talked about the eclipse, and Brother Sean brought this to light, the eclipse is nothing but the black sun making its appearance across what we see as the regular sun. That's why the eclipse is a very highly spiritual event. Okay? Now think about what I just said, how important that black sun is. And where is all of this located? It's located in the Antarctica. Okay? So you can equate that black sun to the term Mount Meru that the ancients talked about. Mount Meru, the gateway to paradise earth or inner earth. Okay? So that's why Antarctica is important. It is about the gateways. It is a place where they actively see where these portals are opening up. But if you don't have the particular frequency, you can't walk through them no goddamn way. Okay? So now it is said, and we've talked about this several times, and the brother that I have a lot of respect for out of the UK kind of did an excellent model of these portals and how they relate to the physical aspect of Mama Earth is that Cosmic Egg video. And he discusses the different outer layer realms of Mama Earth and how each layer has its own shield per se, aka portal. Okay? So those are the different worlds. Okay? So just like the secret society talks about the circle within the circle, within the circle, within the circle, and the closest to the inner circle you are, the more powerful that secret society is, and the very middle circle has all the power and the control. That's exactly the way that this brother, from a realm perspective, moving outward, describes how Mama Earth is set up. Okay? So in other words, that Arctic, Antarctica, okay, which most depict, instead of that patch in the middle, most are depicting it as an entire circle of ice. And when Admiral Byrd went up for his exploration, Operation High Jump, it is very well documented. He was being interviewed, all that jazz, where he talked about the land beyond the pole. He talked about how he saw above that ice wall land extended very, very far that had not been explored at all. And he said, and I know we haven't even scratched the surface. Okay? So it is said that what really happened with Byrd, there's two versions. One version say that, he went up there and he ran into inner earth. Some say he got befriended and all that type of jazz, 1, 2, 3, ABC, woo da woo da woo. Some say when he got to a certain point in the Arctic, they got stopped and couldn't get through. Okay, some said that in that expedition, as they were flying in the Arctic, that they hit a wall, an invisible wall, and the planes just crashed. Okay, and that's also was said what happened with the Nazis as well. So in other words, that Arctic represents the ending point of this dimensional realm. Okay, so that dome, which I believe is a crystallized wall per se. Okay, and that portal, which that's what to me that invisible glass dome is, that crystal, it is a form of a portal, and it opens up when it's a certain frequency, And if you have that certain, a particular frequency, you're able to go to the next outer ring, which that outer ring has a dome, and then another outer ring has a dome. Okay? So that's the whole story with Admiral Byrd. It is well documented that he did actually see land beyond the poles, and he did say that it hadn't been explored. And after he came back from that expedition, that's when they started putting these treaties in place. Okay, the 1959 treaties blocking people off from exploration, etc. So I'm gonna pause in case somebody want to put something on it. Get me a sip of water, and then we're gonna continue on.
Dad, you say it's I don't know. I think it's more or less a frequency that you have to get
agree
through.
with that. I agree.
You know, something like Stargate. You got to be able to dial up the. Being able to tune in, and obviously they're not capable of cracking the frequency, and in times when they think they do, then they got extra bodies around. Okay, send us up a fresh shipment.
A fresh shipment. And so really, to me, Brother Sean, I 1,000% agree with you. I think that's what the exploration is about. They're trying to find the right frequency to open up those portals to walk through, or find the right frequency to be able to control that dome. I'm sorry. Go ahead on, sis.
I'm trying to bring up a memory of something I studied about the metal. There's a metal or something that will destroy everything, and it's something about the energy of that metal that they knew that the Arctic had, and it's only located there in the Arctic. And they are trying to get up there. It's just like it's just like that Black Panther stuff, that beryllium.
Vibranium.
Vibranium, yeah, but I think they call this one beryllium. But yeah, vibranium. They found it, and it is supposed to take and break through all kinds of metals. And that's what they're looking for up there, because they said it's in great quantity up there. It's other places too, like in I was thinking Arizona, someplace that they have it. But that's what they're trying to do, because it shuts down your enemy's crafts and all that kind of stuff, and that's why. They say, everybody can partake, but it was just for scientific purposes. That's what they're looking for. If I can remember something, it's been a while since I started studying about the Antarctic. So that's what they said they found, is some kind of energy in a metal. I don't know if it's at the rocks that have the metal in it or what, but that's what they were messing with. That's what I heard.
Now, if that is the case, that is straight out of the movie Black Panther,
right?
Because Wakanda, which was over here, okay,
right.
But nonetheless, I'll circle back to that in just a second, because that just brought up another point. But it was surrounded by a what? A shield, right?
Invisible or some type, yeah.
An invisible, crystallized shield that they controlled, and they were cloaked, okay? And that vibranium was inside of a mountain, but that mountain, when I saw it, the first thing thing I thought of was the damn Grand Canyon.
Right.
That's the first thing I thought of, and the mountain that they showed in the movie was an ancient silicon tree.
Right. Chol Maya is a form of Mayan. It's something that my ancestor have. And the center of the earth, there was a movie, and they called it Shambhala. Now, the Chol Maya that's my ancestry. It's like T'Challa, okay? And they had Lakandon, like Wakanda.
Right.
And then they had Lake Tumbala. And this is like Shambhala. So whatever they found is our ancestral stuff.
Right.
And they're going, and that's from the Mayan civilization.
Right. So now where are the Mayan civilization? Where is that located? We've been connected.
South America, Mexico, or Texas, as Mexico was actually Texas, but it's here in this hemisphere. It's on this continent.
Right. Right. So, but the point being, the Mayan civilization is heavily known for what we know today as South America, right?
South America, exactly.
Okay.
Yep.
Which
they migrated up north.
Up to. Right. Right.
Yep.
So that's the point I was trying to make. So yes,
and
everything that you're saying would make sense if that civilization backs right up to the Arctic.
America, South Pole down there. Yeah.
Right. Right. So we're going to talk about. Go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
But the word Maya means illusion. So just saying that's another way of taking our focus away from what is.
Well, we all been
changed. If that whole culture is an illusion, then it's basically Olmecs who we're talking about.
Of course.
Yes.
What they call Olmecs.
Yes. And that's fair. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's true.
Yep. I'm good with that. Absolutely. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the fossils in South Chile reveal close interaction with once connected Antarctica. And Sis Lioness gave insight into this, how when everything was connected, and I think Brother Sean, you started blowing the thunder early on. Okay, so this is an article called off of the site. mercopress.com. Okay, so, and this was back in 2013. 3 years of study in, I know y'all correct me with this, Patagonia, Patagonia, have produced what researchers described as most importantly paleontological findings in Chile in the last 10 years. The discovery of a leaf and dinosaur fossil in South America has revealed the continent was connected to Antarctica 20 million years more recently than previously believed. Around 600 million years ago, South America was joined to Antarctica, Australia, Africa, and Asia in the supercontinent Gondwana. At that time, Antarctica was not the home of snow and ice, which it is today. It was a fertile landmass which allowed the terrestrial migration of of dinosaurs and plants to today's continents. It was previously thought that 85 to 90 million years ago, when the supercontinent separated into the land masses, South Africa split from Gondwana. However, 11 Chilean researchers have found proof that the two continents were connected around 20 million years later at the end of the Cretaceous period, when the mass extinction of the dinosaurs occurred. In February of this year, 11 researchers found a bone bed of hundreds of pieces of dinosaur bones and skull in the Ultima Esperanza province, Magellan region, close to the southern Argentina border. The largest findings of dinosaur fossils in Chile. It gives you shivers down your spine and a real feeling of happiness to come across something so old. Marcelo Lepi, the paleontologist and manager of the science department of the Chilean Antarctica Institute, told the San Diego Times. The area is the most southern place in South America where dinosaur fossils have ever been found, and the discovery has proven the existence of land bridging the continent with Antarctica towards the end of the dinosaur era. We knew that South America and Antarctica were once connected in the past. What we didn't know was at what point in time and in what way, Lepe told the Santiago Times. It was known that they were connected in the Turanian era around 85 to 90 million years ago. Now we know that also at the end of the dinosaur era, there was another connection of land, and this connection could help solve many of today's related mysteries. These findings will now allow scientists to better understand the origins and evolution of nature since the Cretaceous period. This connection could explain many things today remain unknown, Lepe said. For example, marsupials known as Monotos del Monte, the little mountain monkey, live in the forests of southern Chile as well as other animals we know and understood to be typically South American. In reality, would have their genesis in Antarctica. The two types of dinosaur species identified by the research group were Iguanodontia and Hadrosaurus, a herbivore with over 2,000 teeth and between 8 to 9 meters in length. Other species may yet be identified. Along with the dinosaur's bones, 34 different leaves identified as Nothofagus, a family of tree from which 10 species can be found in modern-day Chile. Textbooks in Chile say that this type of tree is no more than 50 million years old. However, the fossils found by these researchers were between 66 and 68 million years old. Given the seeds intolerant to salt, this is strong proof of propagation via lands between Antarctica and the Patagonia, Lepe said. The age of the leaves and their nature of propagation provides further proof that there was a connection of land between South America and Antarctica 66 million years ago. The Nothofagus family of trees occupies vast expansion of woodland in southern Chile. Our hypothesis is that the Nothofagus came from Antarctica to Chile, dominating the countryside up until today. LePay stated in the press conference Friday. There were theories about such land bridges between South America and Antarctica, but nothing provided concrete proof until these fossils were discovered. Marcelo LePay was among the 11 who went to southern Chile for investigation along with David Rubelair, a paleontologist of vertebrates at the National Museum of Natural History, and Alexander Vargas, professor of paleontology at the University de Chile. The project was financed by Paleobiology Laboratory of Patagonia and Antarctica of INACH, the Institution of Earth Sciences of Heidelberg University, the National Fund for Scientific and Technology Development, and the researchers are currently working on a report in which they hope to publish their findings in the next few months. Researchers describe their 3-year investigation as the most paleontological findings in Chile in the last 10 years. So again, that was off of a site called mercopress.com. So the point of me bringing that into play, and there are other articles I pulled, but I'm not going to read them all for time's sake. I'll put all of this, that research on the Truth Uncompromised website. The point I wanted you all to get on that is that when we talk of Pangea, okay, that concept of Pangea, that's when all of the continents were connected, okay, because I had to even get out of the mindset of saying the land mass, because underneath the land mass are still connected. They just got separated by the body of waters. So as as Pangea is discussed, rarely do they talk about Antarctica being a part of that equation as well. Okay? So with Antarctica having the mystique to it that it does, with what we were talking about earlier, with the portal being close there, with the black sun, quote, quote, Mount Meru, okay, backing right up against South America and Africa, that puts a total new light on things.
Right.
Okay. So go ahead, sis.
Well, actually, as I think about all this stuff I've studied over the years, one of the things that they showed me not too long ago is a book of what they found, the Europeans found when they first came to this turtle island, this Americas. And they had people writing crocodiles and mermaids and unicorns and all that kind of stuff. So if you go back to your vacation you had when you went down to South America, you were on the Step Pyramid and stuff, weren't you down there?
Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. See, Chile is where Butler said that the what's it called? David, the Pyramid of David, or his castle, or whatever, is located in Peru, which is next to Chile. Yep. And in Peru, there is a door, a big giant door. I saw this on a documentary that's in a mountainside, and they can't open it. And this would be that dimensional stuff, which is really close to the Antarctic, where people, can go through from this dimension back into the other dimension, and we're stuck into this dimension, which is the lowest vibration, which is just physical. and they can walk through the door into another dimension, and those areas down there are dimensional gateways, because I saw once somebody was using their satellite stuff, and they saw that people were coming out of a hole in the poles, or some spacecraft was coming out of that. So everything is kind of tying back into
it is.
that we're in the fake land and they're in the real land.
Now, it's interesting that you brought that up. I'm going to put a little something on that in addition to what you just said with these portals. Ooh, this stuff runs deep.
Yeah, it does.
Okay. Now, for those of you that was with us when Brother Wendell, he laid it out with the whole Anunnaki, with the Book of Enoch. So if you didn't catch that series, go back and listen to it. It was a wonderful series. He literally broke down the book and gave you much, much more information. So, the Cosmic Egg dude, Brother Kenny out of the UK, I highly recommend you look at his YouTube video. I think it's 2 hours tops. But he's going to show you visually the different layers of the earth and depict the domes representing those crystal glass vibrational portals, okay, to get to those other worlds. That's just those other worlds. He's also going to show you the heavens above, how those are also spiritual dimensions, okay? So the concept is, based on who you are and where you vibrate, from a physical body perspective, you can cross over into the different outer dimensions, okay? In order to go to the heavenly dimensions upwardly, you can only do that with your true spiritual body, not this physical vessel, okay? Because it's two different densities, okay? So I did want to kind of clarify that. But back to the Anunnaki point. And Brother Kenny gonna hit on that in the video, okay? When we talk about Sirius, the Anunnaki, Marduk motherfucking asses, the way he depicted is they're in those outer realms. So meaning their origins, when you hear folks talk about, well, I'm from Sirius, I'm from this, woo, 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 Mars, blah, 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 blah. When they talk about outer space, it isn't above, it's the next outer realm. So it would make sense that they were able to walk through those portals to come into our realm and start with the fuckery, setting up stuff, okay? Because they serve their purpose too, okay? So if the main gateway is Antarctica and South America and Africa are closer, hopefully now the picture is starting to have you curious on all of those ancient stories and texts that you hear about the Anunnaki out of Sumner, the Sumerians, okay? So both of those continents, meaning South America and Africa, even Australia down there, because Australia is closer than Africa to the Arctic, okay, would be the closest to the Arctic, but South America is closest to all of them, okay? So that's another point I wanted to bring up. Now, in addition to that, sis, when you talked about the particular, when you were studying Antarctica stuff back up in the day, that, they found pictures and depictions of unicorns and all of these different animals and species. That's what made me do this show, because this brother, medicine man, he has a YouTube channel, put out a video called The Monsters of Africa. Okay? And pretty much the video is talking about the genetic manipulation that was going on back up in the day. Okay? So meaning mixing the quote man gene with these different animals, okay? So coming up with hybrids, or showing just flat out different animal species that were not indigenous to what we know in this particular realm. And it just hit me. I said, God damn it. That stuff came from the Arctic, from that other realm. Okay?
Right.
So all of that gene motherfucking slicing, genetic manipulation, they were mixing the different realms of species over here. Now, who knows? They could have did it over in the other realm also. Okay? And started to really create a mess. Okay? And if you fast forward, now that was ancient time, because they say, if you go by the ancient text, that the Anunnaki was the first to do that with the genetic manipulation. Okay? Now, if you fast forward during World War I days, it is rumored that the Nazis were doing the same thing.
Right.
And guess where they were doing it? Allegedly and supposedly. South America.
Argentina.
Okay.
What they call them? Something boys. They created.
Boys of Brazil. Boys of Brazil was the movie that depicted the Nazis doing scientific genetic experiments. Also, what's the movie, the original one they had with Brando, where he was on a motherfucking island with all of the experiments?
Dr. Moreau? The island of Dr. Moreau?
Yeah. The island of Dr. Moreau. Island of Dr. Moreau. Okay? Same concept. Okay? So the point I'm trying to make here, the connection that I got was, oh, shit. That's where that technology or that science came from. It was the beings that was crossing between the realms that first started it. Okay? And then it could very well be, like Brother Sean said, when everything was when the landmass were connected together and the fuckery started, and Mother Earth said, oh no, we got to clean this up. And that's when the water, the bodies of water, started separating things.
You know, it's funny you mentioned Brando, because I saw him on Dane Calloway, and he was talking about us, Aboriginal people, and how they have mistreated us. What was he saying? And that they were miseducated. You know, his people have been miseducated, and they got it all wrong as to who we are. And they need to kind of get it right. I thought it was kind of interesting he was talking like that. And since you say he was part of that movie, you know, when you do a movie, you have to kind of like do immerse yourself in the characters and the history and to find out all about it. So he must have found out some things when he was doing that movie, Dr. Moreau, The Island of Dr. Moreau.
The Island of Dr. Moreau, yep. And he did the original one. And you know what? As a matter of fact, what tripped me out, you know, they made that movie 3 times. Because the first time, it was made back up in the 30s, y'all. Because I like to watch old movies. They, like, I'm talking like in the 30s and all of that. They was dropping some shit in those old movies. So it was actually one made back in the 30s, The Island of Dr. Monroe. But the Marlon Brando version very, very closely matched the 30s movie. And then they made another version that Brando was in that, I want to say sometimes in the 90s, with Val Kilmer was in there as well, okay? So again, that's depicting the scientific genealogy of gene splicing, okay? So my theory is, and what was hitting me in the spirit, was beings crossing from the other realm through the through Antarctica over to South America to do those particular geneticist experiments. Okay. So the next article I want to share with you all, this is off of bigthink.com. Strange maps, and this is about, could South America be Atlantis? So Brother Sean said that in the beginning, okay? So I'll drop this link out there as well, because the map that they show of South America, they show where the Arctic is slammed right up against South America. Okay? So it goes, irrespective of whether it's entirely mythical or merely missing, the lost island of Atlantis is one of the most sought-after pieces of real estate in history. The oldest source for the stories of a once mighty land now vanished beneath the waves are 2 of Plato's dialogues, 4th century BC. But while Timaeus and Critias place Atlantis beyond the Pillars of Hercules, i.e. the Strait of Gibraltar, in the ocean that still bears its name, evidence of Atlantis has been proposed and presumed in places as far apart as Sardinia, Antarctica, Cuba, and Indonesia. These days, most serious scientists prefer one theory over all others, that the drowning of Atlantis is a forked memory of a catastrophic volcano eruption on the island of Thera, present-day Santorini, sometime around 1600 BC, that caused a tsunami, wiping out the Minoan civilization. Many pre-modern scientists held to Plato's original thesis that Atlantis was once lapped by the waves of the Atlantic Ocean. One of them was Athanasius Kircher, who produced this map in his book, Mundus Subterraneus, The Underground World. Okay, so I guess that came out in 1665. Okay, a biography published in 2004 dubbed Kircher's was titled The Last Man to Know Everything. So y'all gonna chuckle on this next one. And the German Jesuit interest and expertise were certainly wide and deep enough to rival Leonardo da Vinci. Both would be close contenders for the title of ultimate Renaissance man. Kircher wrote 40 books on subjects as diverse as geology, music, theory, Coptic grammar, and magnetism. Typically for his scenic style, both of the gravitational and amorous kind. Like Da Vinci, Kircher was fascinated by the invention and perfection of mechanical contraptions. He designed what has been described as the world's first megaphone, perfected a magnetic clock, and invented a cat piano, where a pen would pierce the tails of the animals, which would then yawl at specific pitches. It is not clear whether Kircher even realized this scheme, although Monty Python, in one of their sketches, adopted the idea to a mouth organ. He also credited with inventing the magic lantern. That Kircher's international fame was eclipsed by rationalism later in his life, may be understood for some of his more outlandish theories. Although still considered one of the founding fathers of Egyptology, he believed that Egypt was so ancient that it must have been the language of Adam and Eve, centuries before the hieroglyphics were deciphered. Kircher convinced himself that he had cracked the code, producing volumes of nonsense translations. An equally earlier pioneer of sinology, Kircher thought the Chinese descended from Ham and Confucius identical to Moses. In Arca, he discussed the logistics, including the feeding schedule of Noah's Ark voyage. Mundus Subterraneus is a blend of how do these notifications popping up, is a blend of vision and error typical of Kircher. He correctly postulates fire raging inside the earth, but links the tides to the interaction with an underground ocean. Included in the works is the map of Atlantis, placing the lost island, or rather many continents, between Spain and America. For some reason, the map is oriented upside down, with the south on top.
Yep.
The main island of Atlantis is accompanied by two smaller, unnamed ones to its right or west. The Latin inscription reads, "Location of the island of Atlantis, long ago, swallowed by the sea," according to the Egyptian tales and the writings of Plato. The story does not stop there, at least not if you are a true Atlanticist, seeking truth where others see none. Some have remarked on the similarities between the shape of Kircher's Atlantis and the geography of South America.
Right.
Could it be that Plato was actually talking about that continent? These two maps compare South America as shown in Ortelius Typus Orbis Terranium with Kircher's, and that was in 1592, with Kircher's Atlantis now orientated with north on top. The similarities are striking, from the double scallop coast in the northwest of the continent over the long straight coast of the southwest, and the narrowing tip in the south to the recessed coastland in the east. Another map goes even further, putting the name to a half dozen geographic similarities, including three of the continent's major rivers, Amazon, Orinoco, Plata, two mountain ranges, Cordillera, Andes, and theorizing that the smaller, unnamed islands are actually the West Indies. Okay, now before I read the rest of this, if you read When Rocks Cry Out by Brother Horace Butler, he talks about the original chosen people actually coming out of South America. And the Amazons and Orinoco are a big part of that. I'm sorry, sis. Go ahead on.
Well, I like to give a shout out to this young man. He's an Indian. I think his name is Ahu is his last name. Emil Ahu. Now, he has a great understanding for Aztecs and Mayan, all that kind of stuff. And what he said was the Aztecs have it in their records that Moses was the one that was over here, and his title was Kublai Khan. And that was his title, and they called him that. And they have a record of him leading the people, and they have, like Butler, he has that in his book, but this is a little bit more detail because the Aztecs have records of him. And they talk about some blue stone, a stick or something. I think he said a blue stick. It's been a while since I've heard this because, my brain is like a trap, but after a while the trap opens up. And he uses blue stick to part the waters. So they told him, it says in there, somebody told him to go get the blue stick. Now, whoever told him to go get the blue stick, he went and got it and then parted the waters. So all of that drama that they said is over there happens over here, according to Aztecs. And when you were reading that, I was, And so it's us. It's who. And people want to say that we're not important, we don't mean anything, and we are the secret of the planet. We are the beginning.
Have been. Yes.
Always have been. We are the gods of this planet because we are made, or are the Elohim, as they call the people in the Bible. And all those fairy tales that people are trying to get here, they are trying to get here so bad to have this land and try to get us to go over there. So I think that's where the whole, this Atlantis, Lemuria is over here too. So they're everybody's trying to pull the wool over our eyes, and our people because we have all these handles they done called us, are listening to that stupid stuff they're telling you when your grandmama didn't tell you that kind of stuff. But we're listening to these fake boules and Moors and all these kinds of things. Everybody's breaking their neck to get over here. And if you really want to pitch into it, you need to say, why does everybody want to get here? Trump's trying to build a wall so nobody else will come. So why is he trying to?
And so what are we closest to?
We're closest to paradise on earth. Atlantis.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, paradise on earth. And we are the people. And we're trying to move and run over there by using that black stuff and that African American. And that's why Garvey and all those people were trying to chip us out of our inheritance.
Yep. And then the spiritual component to it, is the physical component to this is the land with the precious resources. Okay.
Yes, it is. And they've been raping this. Remember the stuff that the men couldn't go in the mines because that was considered rape of Mother Earth.
Yes.
And they've just been raping this place like they retarded, taking all its resources.
Right. So that's the physical component of it, folk wanting to come over to this particular land because of the resources, the land of milk and honey. But for every physical component, there's a spiritual component, which is the real component behind it.
Yes, indeed.
Okay? It is a vibrational energy thing, okay?
Yes.
Because the closer you are to
the source,
heart circle, which is that black sun, the more you benefit from the higher vibrational energies, okay? All right.
Yep.
So, let me finish up this article. Okay, so looks and sounds plausible, but, before you fall down the Atlantology rabbit hole, check out the map comparison, okay? So he's also put up a map with that it could maybe, Greenland could maybe be Atlantis, but Greenland doesn't even look close to me. South America looks more like the map that was drawn, the ancient map that was drawn of Atlantis, than Greenland does. Okay, so that was the end of that particular article. So again, that's off of a site called bigthink.com. Okay, so our time is winding down. We're definitely going to have to do a part 2, but before we leave, I did want to play some videos, and the first one is, let me see where I want to go. I think I want to go with Mysterious Antarctica, the world's best kept secret, and this is off of YouTube channel Cosmic Continuum. And let me see how many minutes that is, family, to judge from here. Okay, so we can plan this out. Okay, it's about 14 minutes long, so I'll put it on and we'll have the last 14 minutes to chop it up. So here we go.
What was the reason behind Obama's secret trip to Antarctica? What was the reason for CIA Director James Clapper's simultaneous visit to Australia? Why did Russia's top religious leader go to Antarctica? There has been a virtual media blackout about these highly unusual trips made by officials in Russia and the U.S. There are a couple of sources that cited Obama traveled to the southern tip of Argentina before crossing the Drake Passage to Antarctica. Indeed, Obama's secret trip comes at a highly unusual time. It follows on the heels of a visit by Patriarch Kirill of Russia. Kirill met with Pope Francis in Havana, Cuba, less than 1 week before he departed for Antarctica. Media sources described the meeting between the two religious leaders as urgent. Nothing like this has happened since the 1054 AD schism that separated Eastern Orthodoxy and Roman Catholicism. Why an urgent meeting between these leaders was called after a millennium of never meeting with one another is a mystery. The mainstream media reported that the meeting between Francis and Kirill was meant to condemn persecution of Christians around the world and to foster ecumenical dialogue. But again, it comes at an unusual time, because 4 days after this meeting, Kirill arrived in Antarctica and performed a religious ceremony blessing the land and water surrounding the continent. He praised the barren lands of Antarctica as, quote, a model of an ideal humanity. Kirill also said the following, quote, Antarctica is the only place where there are no weapons, no military activity, there are no scientific studies focused on the emergence of a new means of destruction. It is a perfect image of humanity and a testimony to the fact that people can live like this. No borders, no weapons, no hostile competition, that they can cooperate and feel as members of one family, unquote. The reason I find Obama and Russian visits to Antarctica very strange is the following. There was another country, another regime, that visited Antarctica just before a Great World War started. The Nazis led an expedition of 33 members, including scientists, to Antarctica, just before the start of World War II in September 1939. Their expedition to New Swabia lasted from December 1938 to February 1939. It is known that the Nazis took thousands of photos using airplanes during this expedition. They also took reels of colored film, which was rare at the time and very expensive to produce. The regime was clearly looking for something in Antarctica. But what was it? What were they there for? Two earlier expeditions to Antarctica by the Nazis were also very alarming. They were intent to map out the terrain of the continent using hot air balloons for aerial footage. The Nazis even attempted, during these two expeditions, to walk across the entire continent and map out its landscape. It's still unclear why they engaged in so much surveying. Let us go back to World War II and listen to an interview given by an American naval officer named Richard Byrd. Byrd was stationed and lived in Antarctica for some time. Byrd made astonishing claims about the continent, that it could be the key to a future controversy that would erupt between various countries, not merely regarding the issue of resources, that precious metals, mineral deposits, and even uranium have been found in Antarctica. No, Richard Byrd seems to suggest that something else was there.
Admiral Byrd, you've been to both the North Pole and the South Pole. Is there any unexplored land left on this Earth that might appeal to adventurous young Americans?
Yes, there is. And not up around the North Pole, because it's getting crowded up there now, because they find out it's really usable, not only to live in, but militarily. But strangely enough, there's left in the world today an area as big as the United States that's never been seen by a human being. And that's beyond the pole, on the other side of the South Pole, from Middle America. And I think it's quite astonishing that there should be an area as big as that unexplored.
This is a tremendous
So
challenge.
there's a lot of adventure left down at the bottom of the world.
Admiral, an expedition to which I believe you're the advisor is now en route. What is that expedition doing?
Well, that's the icebreaker Attica, and it's a reconnaissance expedition. It's going down to the South Pole area to make certain observations and to look for some bases. They will be back in April, and they will report back, and upon the information we get from that undertaking, we will base the bigger expedition that's to follow.
Is that very definitely planned, or is that...
That is being planned right now. So I'm willing to say to you that there will be a number of expeditions that will follow, I think, year after year.
Richard Byrd verified that Antarctica wasn't about resources, but rather that the Nazis had established secret bases for some reason. Perhaps they were protecting something. Operation High Jump, coordinated by Byrd, which included U.S., Russian, Australian, and British forces, was meant to close in on the Nazis' strange operations in Antarctica. We'll return to Richard Byrd later on in this video. The logo for the Nazis' third expedition to Antarctica shows that they were interested in a particular portion of the continent called New Swabia. You can see on this emblem that there were lines drawn to bring your attention to an exact coordinate ending on a particular target. Perhaps the Nazis were hiding a secret in plain sight, that they had located something. Were they pointing us, perhaps, to a hole that existed into the earth? A pathway into the center of a hollow earth. There is evidence to suggest that the Nazis believed in the hollow earth and held to an understanding that perhaps there was a passageway to the other side. While hollow earth is not a popular idea these days, it was during World War II. In fact, it was suggested that most of the top Nazi officials believed in a hollow earth concept. Many within Nazi pop culture also believed in a hollow earth, including German writer Karl Neupert. In a book called Between Science and Fiction, The Hollow Earth as Concept and Conceit, the author documents that Neupert began what appeared to be a cult following of hollow earth believers in Germany at the time. The idea was that the earth was shaped like an eyeball, a portal leading into it where the North Pole is located, and another portal leading into it where the South Pole is located. The inner portion of the earth is hollow. Likewise, the eye has an entry where blood is pumped into it, but the actual eye globe is hollow, filled with a substance called vitreous humor to protect it. Toward the end of the eye, a lens is located that resembles a mass of land in an ocean. At the center of this landmass is another hole, the pupil. The strange resemblance between hollow earth and a human eyeball is unmistakable. Antarctica was a point of entry into the very pupil of the earth. Interestingly, many Christians throughout history have held to a view of a hollow earth without realizing it. That's because for many centuries, Christians have viewed hell as a place underneath the crust of the earth, a place of fiery torment where condemned souls go. The Nazis, however, believe the opposite, that perhaps this place inside the earth was not for condemned souls, but a place where the master race, their ancestors, dwelled. Nazi belief in the location of the master race was based on a New Age theosophist who had a profound influence on their philosophy and esotericism. Helena Blavatsky suggested that inner earth was not the place of hell, but a place where the master race lived. Admiral Richard Byrd is arguably one of the most controversial voices on the subject of hollow earth. The truth is that Byrd organized a mission called Operation High Jump to stop Nazi ambitions in Antarctica even after World War II had ended. It was officially classified as a reconnaissance mission, yet several members of Operation High Jump died mysteriously.
Admiral, you make it sound a little crowded. Are there that many expeditions now there or en route there?
Well, you know, as I said, it's the most peaceful place in the world, but I don't think it will be for long, because of this intense interest on the part of other nations and this nation.
This latest expedition now on the way is a government expedition, I take it.
Yes, that's the government. I tell you one reason they're interested. It's by far the most valuable, important place left in the world for science. That's why the scientific groups all over the nation are really interested. But more important than that, it has to do with the future of the nation, those to come after us, or even during your lifetime.
The United States was on a mission to find whatever the Nazis hid in Antarctica. Shortly after Operation High Jump was completed, the United States began to promote the idea that the Earth was a solid ball with maybe a small core of magma, no entry or exit into the inner Earth, no settlements or secret bases underground, no potential escape for the Nazis. This idea came into full force using the U.S.'s newly created NASA. Byrd, who had begun to speak out about hollow Earth towards the end of his life, died approximately 1 year before NASA was launched by the U.S. Certainly, if this was merely a Nazi claim, with no other substantiating commentary or research, then we could just simply disregard it. But it is a fact that Hollow Earth maps have been drawn for centuries. Famous members of the Illuminati, including Edgar Allan Poe and Jules Verne, alluded to Hollow Earth in their writings, that there was a world underneath the crust that we stand on. One of the most striking affirmations that an opening to another world was identified was made by Richard Byrd himself. Byrd's diary was mysteriously published in 1990 by a company called Inner Light. In the 68-page publication, Byrd suggested that a land existed beyond the pole, where he was stationed for many years around the time of World War II. He made two mysterious bombshell statements in his diary. One was that he was ordered to keep silent about everything he had witnessed in Antarctica, and two, that he had witnessed the land beyond the pole, the center of the great unknown. Let us not forget that thousands of top-secret scientists in Germany seemed to disappear overnight at the end of the war. Some people believe that they escaped to the United States in something called Operation Paperclip, but some others are a bit more suspicious, thinking that perhaps these scientists made a quick exit off of the face of the world, literally, to the hollow reaches of the earth, perhaps into the very inner quarters and to the location where another race of beings dwell. Did the Nazis go underground when the time came for their demise? And is this now the plan of the elites when World War III begins? Is the route of an escape in Antarctica?
Okay, family. So that video, I actually chopped it up into two parts, is Mysterious Antarctica, the world's best kept secret, and that's off of the YouTube channel Cosmic Continuum. So we're winding down, so I'm going to go for last words, and we're going to pick up with part 2 next week, because we still have some stuff to cover. So, sis, you have any last words for the family?
Yeah, I studied a lot about Admiral Byrd and the Antarctica and the Germans and paperclips and all that kind of stuff. Because it was in hollow earth and flat earth, and that was because it's very, very fascinating. But every time I hear all this stuff, that daggone rabbit hole keeps coming up. That we came out of where we were safe to experience this place. And that, and as she was saying that, I said, now why did we come out of there? We had a reason for being here. And why we're, as Linus has said, this is where we're supposed to be at this time. It was all set out there for us to do this at this time. So I just want to say that we're going to learn about who we are, why we're here.
Oh, yeah.
And hopefully we're going to go back home.
Right.
Well, we belong, because we don't belong up here.
And my whole thing to that take is, ultimately, and Sis Lioness said this, is that, you're more than this physical vessel. Because, there's rules, and also, universal rules / laws, as well as that ties into the physical rules and laws. So, in order to be in these realms, you have to have a vehicle or skin suit. Okay, but where you come from, as Sis Lioness said, you always were.
Right.
I am what I am. So you come from the ethers. So you're beyond even the heavenly realms and this realm that we know. Your pure energy. But very good point, sis. Very good point. Brother Sean, you have any last words for the family? Uh-oh. Oh, okay, there you go.
It's all within. I mean, we can come up with topics every week. And ultimately, you still got to go within and do the work.
Yep. It's going to come back to that.
If you're not willing to do that, then I guess you're just here to stay forever. You know, at least until you decide that you're worn out.
Right.
You got to quit being distracted. And if you say you're a god, I mean...
Absolutely.
I mean, what you doing?
Right. Right. Very good point. So next week we're going to pick back up with this topic, and we're going to dive a little bit more deeper on the spiritual side of the Antarctica connection, and that will dive into the different dimensions, vibrational levels, and we'll tie it into today as well. So we'll be back next week with that, and we're going to rock out with some music. Love you very much, family, and we will see you next week. Peace and love.